Welcome to UPSC IMP. New topic. Jainism taught a five doctrine. Do not commit a violence. Do not speak a lie. Do not steal. Do not acquire property. Observe continence. That is a brahmacharya. It is said that only the fifth doctrine was added by the Mahavira. The other four are being taken over by him from previous teachers. Jainism recognizes the existence of the God but place them lower than the Jina. Jainism recognizes the existence of the God but place them lower than the Jina. It did not condemn the Varna system as Buddhists did. It did not condemn the Varna system as the Buddhists did. According to Mahavira, a person is born in a high or in lower Varna is consequence of the signs or virtues acquired by him in the previous birth. Mahavira looks for the human values even in the Chandela. In his opinion, through a pure and meritorious lives, members of the lower caste can attain liberation. Jainism mainly aims at the attainment of the freedom from the worldly bonds. It is not necessary to use any rituals for acquiring such a liberation. It can be obtained through full knowledge and action. Full knowledge, action, and liberation are considered to be the three gems or ratnas of Jainism. Full knowledge, action, and liberation are considered to be the three gems or ratnas of Jainism. In order to spread the teaching of Jainism, Mahavira organized an order of his followers that admitted both men and women. In order to spread the teaching of Jainism, Mahavira organized an order of his followers that admitted both men and women. Next new topic. Women slaves were prevalent during Rig Vedic age. For example, we hear of gifts made of princess is stated in the terms of the cows and women slaves and never in terms of the measurement of the land. The term of family or kula is mentioned rarely in the Rig Veda. It is comprised not only mother, father, sons, and slaves. The Rig Vedic people may have occasionally occupied a piece of land, but land did not form a well-established type of private property. In Rig Vedic times, we also notice the practice of levirate and widow remarriages. There are no example of the child marriage, and the marriageable age in the Rig Veda seems to have been 16 and to 17. The fourth division, called Shudras, appears toward the end of the Rig Vedic period because it is mentioned for the first time in the 10th book of the Rig Veda, which is the latest edition. Next new topic. Odisha on eastern sea coast is the home of the Odissi, one of the many forms of Indian classical dance. Sensuous and lyricals, Odissi is the dance of love and passion, touching on the divine and the humans, the sublime and mundane. The Natya Shastra mentions many regional varieties such as the southeastern style known as Odera, Magadha, which can be identified as the earliest precursors of the present day Odisha. Southeastern style known as Odhara Magadha. Odhara Magadha. Archaeological evidence of this dance from dating back to the 2nd century before Common Era is found in the caves of the Udaygiri and Khandigiri near Bhubaneswar. Later, innumerable examples of Buddhist sculpture, the tantric images of dancing yoginis, the Nataraja and other celestial musicians and dancers of the early Shaiva temples near testimony to continuing the tradition of the dance from the 2nd century before Common Era to the 10th century Common Era. Udaygiri and Khandigiri near Bhubaneswar. Odissi is the highly stylish dance and to some extent is based on the classical Natya Shastra and the Abhinay Darpana. In fact, it has derived a great deal from the Abhinay Darpana Prakashana by Jadunath Sinha, the Abhinay Chandrika by Rajamani Patra, and Abhinay Chandrika by the Maheshwara Mahapatra. Odissi is the highly stylish dance and to some extent based on the classical Natya Shastra and Abhinay Darpana. In fact, it has derive a great deal from the Abhinay Darpana Prakashana by Jadunath Sinha, the Abhinay Chandrika by the Rajamani Patra, and the Abhinay Chandrika by the Maheshwara Mahapatra. The, the techniques of the movement are built around the two basic features of the chok and tribhagana. Chok is a position imitating a square, a very uh, masculine stance with the weight of the body equally balanced. The tribhagana is a very feminine stance where body is deflected at the neck, torso, and the knees. The techniques of the movement are built around the two basic postures of the chok and tribhagana. Chok is the position imitating the square, very masculine stance with the weight of the body equally balanced, and tribhagana is a very feminine stance where the body is deflected at the neck, torso, and knees. The torso movement is very important and is an unique feature of the Odissi style, with the lower half of the body remaining static and torso moves from one side to the other along the axis, passing through the center of the upper half of the body. Great training is required for this control so as to avoid any shoulder or hip movement. There are a certain foot position with the flat toes or heels context. These are used in variety of the intricate combination. There are also numerous possibilities of the leg movement. Almost all the legs movement are spiral or circular, whether in the space or on the ground. For the century, Maharits were the chief repository of this dance. The Maharits, who were originally temple dancers, came to be employed in a royal courts, which resulted in the degenerations of the art form. Around these times, class of the boys called Gotipuas were trained in the arts and they dance in the temples and also general entertainment. Many of today's gurus of this style belongs to the Gotipua tradition. Next new topic. Starlink has placed multiple satellites in the orbits. Bharti backed satellite operator one web plan to complete the launch of all of its low Earth connectivity satellites as early as 26 March abroad. A rocket by the Indian Space Research Organization Commercial Arms New Space India Limited. Bharti backed satellite operator one web plan to complete the launch of all of its low Earth orbit connectivity satellite as early as 26 March abroad. A rocket by the Indian Space Research Organization Commercial Arms New Space India Limited. Space-based internet is the ability to use a satellite, send and receive data. It is much faster and has the ability to work across the globe. The major difference between the satellite-based internet and satellite TV (DTH) is that unlike a DTH, satellite internet is two-way communication. Satellite internet is two-way communication. The major difference between satellite-based internet and satellite TV (DTH) is that unlike a DTH, satellite internet is a two-way communication. Most of the existing space-based internet systems use satellites in geostationary orbit. However, some also use a low Earth orbit. Starlink is the world's first and largest satellite constellation using the low Earth orbit to deliver broadband internet capable of supporting streaming, online gaming, video calls, and more. Starlink is the world's first and largest satellite constellation using the low Earth orbit to deliver broadband internet capable of supporting streaming, online gaming, and video calls, and more. Geostationary orbit is located at the height of 35,786 km over the Earth's surface directly above the equator. Due to the larger distance, transmission from the satellite in geostationary orbit has a latency of about 600 milliseconds. The longer distance in comparison to the low Earth orbit results in a greater latency. The longer distance in comparison to the low Earth orbits result in greater latency. Space internet with low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit extend up to 2000 km above the Earth's surface. The presence of the satellite at a lower height helps to bring the lag down to 20 to 30 milliseconds, roughly the time it takes for a terrestrial system to transfer data. Satellites in geostationary orbit circles the Earth above the equator from the west to east, following Earth rotation, taking west to east flowing the earth rotation taking 23 hours 56 minutes and 4 seconds. 23 hours 56 minutes and 4 seconds. By traveling at exactly the same rate as the earth, this makes satellites in geostationary orbit appears to be stationary over the fixed position. In order to perfectly match earth rotation, the speed of geostationary orbit satellites should be about 3 km per second at an altitude of 35,786 km. Compared to this low Earth orbit is relatively close to the Earth's surface, less than 1,000 km. Its close proximity makes it useful for several reasons, including satellite imaging, placement of the international space stations, etc. Satellites in this orbit travel at a speed of around 7.8 km per second. At this speed, satellite takes approximately 90 minutes to circle the Earth, meaning International Space Station travel around the Earth about 16 times a day. Next new topic. Asian monuments and archaeological sites and remains amendments bills has been reintroduced in the budget session. AMASR Act was passed by the Parliament in 1958 for the purpose of the protection and preservation of archaeological and historical monuments and sites. It also provides for the regulation of the archaeological excavation and for a protection of the sculpture, carving and other such objects. In the original Act 1958, Asian monument is defined as any structure, erection or monuments or any tumulus or places of the interment or any cave, rock sculpture, inscription or monolith which is of the historical, archaeological or artistic interest and which has been in existence for not less than 100 years. Also, archaeological sites and remains means any area which contains or is reasonably believed to be contain ruins or relics of the historical or archaeological importance which have been in existence for not less than 100 years. AMASR Amendment Bill was first introduced in the Lok Sabha on July 18, 2017. Amendments in the bills include the allowing the construction of the public works in the prohibited area, allowing the construction of the public work in the prohibited area and approval and impact assessment of such a public works. The bill includes allowing the construction of the public work in the prohibited area and approval and impact assessment of such a public work. The original act prohibit construction in an area of 100 meters around the protected monuments, and the central government, not state, can extend this area beyond 100 meters. With the amendment, the government will allow to take up the infrastructure project for public work in this prohibited area for the construction or reconstruction, repair or renovation. The original act prohibits the construction in the area of the 100 meters around the protected monuments, and the central government, not the state government, can extend this area beyond 100 meters. With the amendment, the government will allow the take up infrastructure projects for public work in this prohibited area. Relevant central government department will be required to submit an application to the competent authority. The central government will determine whether the construction work in the question of the qualify as a public works, and the authority will then convey the decision of the central government to the applicant within the 10 days of the receipt of the decision. 10 days of the receipt of the decision, within 10 days. Next new topic. Harappans look upon the earth as a fertility goddess and worship in her same manners as the Egyptian worship Nile goddess Isis. Some Vedic texts show reverence to the earth goddess, although she is not given any prominence. It took a long time for the worship of the supreme goddess to develop in Hinduism. Only from the 6th century AD, various mother goddesses such as Durga, Amba, Kali, Chandi, etc. came to be regarded as a goddess in the Puranas and in the Tantra literature. In course of the time, every village came to have its own separate goddess. The male deity is represented on the seal. This god has 3 heads and has horns. The seal immediately recalls to our minds the traditional image of the Pashupati Mahadeva. The 4 animals surrounding the god look toward the 4 directions of the earth. In addition to the use of the image of Shiva, we also come across the prevalence of the phallus worships, which became intimately connected with the Shiva in later times. Numerous symbols of the phallus and female sex organs made of stone have been found in Harappa. They were possibly meant for worship. Rig Veda speaks of the non-Aryan peoples who were phallus worshippers. Phallus worship, which started in the days of the Harappans, came to be recognized as a respectable form of worship in Hindu society. People of the Indus region also worship a tree. Picture of the god is represented on the sill in the midst of the branches of the people. This tree continues to be worshipped to this day. Animals were also worshipped in the Harappan times, and many of them are represented on the sills. The most important of them is humble. Similarly, animals surrounding the Pashupati Mahadev indicate that these were worshipped. Obviously, inhabitation of the Indus regions worship God in the form of trees, animals, human beings, but the gods were not placed in the temples, practice that was common in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. Nor can we see anything about the religious beliefs of the Harappans without being able to read their script. Amulets have been found in the large numbers. Probably the Harappans believed that ghosts and evil forces were capable of harming them and therefore used amulets against them. Atharva Veda, which is considered to be a non-Aryan work, contains many charms and spells, recommends amulets for avoiding of diseases and evil forces. Atharva Veda, which is considered to be a non-Aryan work, contains many charms and spells and recommends amulets for avoiding of diseases and evil forces. Next new topic. The continuous quest by the sages gave birth to a great philosophical system which look upon a man and universe with an unbiased, free and rational mindset. The important system of the Charvaka, Jain, Buddha, Vishaka, Nyaya, Samakhya, Yoga, Minamasa and Vedanta. The first three systems of the Gnostic do not believe in the authority of the Vedas and God, while all other are atheistic believe in the Vedas and God. The Charvaka system, also called Lokayata, believes only in the materialism. Charvaka system, also called Lokayata, believe only in materialism. The physical body composed of the material elements is the only essence of man. The physical body composed of the material element is the only essence of man. Death only is the end of the man, and enjoyment of the pleasure are the only object in the life. Death only is the end of the man, and enjoyment of the pleasure are the only object in the life. There is no life beyond the death, no heaven or hell, no law of the karma and no rebirth. There is no life beyond the death and no heaven or hell, law of the karma and no rebirth. Charvaka system does not believe in the soul, God, or any other life beyond the present one. Charvaka system does not believe in the soul, God, or any other life beyond the present one. Next new topic. Gupta bureaucracy was not as elaborated as the of the Gupta's Mauryas. The most important officers in the Gupta's empire were Kumaramatyas. They were appointed by the king in the home provinces and possibly paid in cash. Since the Guptas were possibly Vaishyas, requited was not confined to the upper Varnas only, but several offices came to be combined in the hands of the same persons and posts became hereditary. This is naturally weakened the royal control. The Guptas organized the system of the provincial and local administration. The empire was divided into divisions or bhuktis, and each bhuktis was placed under the charge of an aparika. Bhuktis were divided into district Vishayas. The Bhuktis were divided into district, that is Vishayas, which were placed under the charge of the Vishayapati. In Eastern India, Vishayas were divided into Vittis, which again were divided into village. In Eastern India, Vishayas were divided into Vittis, which again were divided into village. The village headman became the more important in the Gupta's times. He managed the village affairs with the assistance of the elders, with the administration of the village or a small town. Leading local elements were associated. No land transaction could be effected without their consent. Next new topic. Mansabdari system was a unique administration system developed by the Mughals in India. It was designed and established in Mughal Empire Akbar. Mansabdari system, Mughal Emperor Akbar. Designed and established by the Mughal Emperor Akbar. The term Mansabdar referred to an individual who holds a mansab, meaning a position or rank. It was a granting a system used by the Mughal to the fixed jat or rank, salary and sawar or military responsibilities. Mansabdar were a military commander, a high civil and military officer. Ahadis These were the individual troopers maintained or recruited by the Mughal rulers. They were highly trusted crops, being recruited directly by the empires and having their own master. They were not associated with the Mansabdar. The Mansabdar had to maintain their own forces. The Sawar rank of Mansabdar indicated the number of the horsemen needed to keep by the Mansabdar. Salaries of the Mansabdar were stated in rupee, but stated in rupees, but were generally not paid in cash, but by assigning them a jagir. Mansabdar preferred jagir because the cash payment were likely to be a delay and sometimes entails a lot of harassment. However, jagiri were not hereditary, were transferred by rulers at any time. Tajviz was a petition presented by the noblemen to the emperor recommending that the applicant be recruited as a mansabdar. If the applicant was found suitable, a mansab was granted to him. Tajviz was a petition presented by the noblemen to the emperor recommending that the applicant be recruited as a mansabdar. Next new topic. India assumes the G20 presidency. It has introduced the Startup 20 Engagement Group, which has a potential to revolutionize the G20. Startup 20 Engagement Group. It is the only new group by which G20 has turned itself into an ambidextrous institution on one where both the large corporations and startups have an equal voice in taking in economics forward. In the new architecture, while existing B20 Engagement Group continues its focus on cooperation, the Startup 20 takes on the policy of the issue concerning the global startup ecosystem with a necessary linkage between the two groups. B20 Engagement Group. It is a forum for international business leaders from the G20 countries. Established in 2010, it is among the most prominent engagement groups in the G20 with the companies and business organizations as a participant. Established in 2010. It aims to provide a recommendation to the G20 on the issue such as economic growth, trade, investment, digitalization, sustainability and job creation. Confederation of the Indian Industry has been designed as a B20 secretary for India's G20 presidency. Confederation of the Indian Industry has been designed as the B20 secretary for India's G20 presidency. Startup 20 initiative under India's G20 presidency. It aims to create a global narrative for supporting a startup and enabling synergies between the startup, corporates, investor, innovation agencies, and other key ecosystem stakeholders. The engagement group comprises 3 task forces where delegates will come together to discuss the efficient policy framework to promote the scaling up the startups in the G20 nations. Foundation and Alliance, Finance and Inclusion and Sustainability. Foundation and Alliance, Finance, Inclusion and Sustainability. Particular tribal groups. Pradhan Mantri, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, development missions will be launched as the part of reaching the last mile. In order to improve the socio-economic condition of the particular vulnerable tribal groups, the Pradhan Mantri particular vulnerable tribal group development missions will be launched. This will be saturated the particular vulnerable tribal group families and habitation with the basic facilities such as the safe housing, clean drinking water, sanitation, improved access to education, health and nutrition, road and telecom connectivity, and sustainable livelihoods opportunities. Rupees 15,000 crore will be made available and implement the missions in the next 3 years under the development action plan for scheduled areas, development action plan for the scheduled tribes. Pradhan Mantri particular vulnerable tribal groups mission will be launched as the part of reaching the last mile, one of the 7 Saptarishi priorities enlisted in this year budget. There are 75 particular vulnerable tribal groups in India that will benefit from these schemes. One of the 7 Saptarishi priorities enlisted this year budget. 75 particular vulnerable tribal groups. In 1973, the Hebar Commission created primitive tribal groups as the separate categories which are less developed among the tribal groups. In 1973, the Hebar Commissions created primitive tribal groups. In 1973, the Hebar Commission created primitive tribal groups. Particular vulnerable tribal groups are more vulnerable among the tribal groups. Due to these factors, more developed and assertive tribal groups take a major chunk of the tribal development funds, because of which particular tribal groups need more funds directed to for their development. In this context, in 1975, the government of India initiated to identify most vulnerable tribal groups such as separate category called particular vulnerable tribal groups and declared 52 such groups, while in 1993 an additional 23 groups were added to the categories, making it total 75 particular vulnerable tribal groups out of 705 scheduled tribes spread over 17 states and 1 union territories in the country 2011 census. In 2006, the government of India renamed primitive tribal group as a particular vulnerable tribal groups. Particular primitive tribal groups. Particular vulnerable tribal groups have some basic characteristics. They are mostly homogeneous. They have small populations. They are relatively physically isolated. Their social institutes are cast in a simple mold. There is an absence of the written language. The technology used relatively simple. However, they are identified government of India falling below mentioned criteria: pre-agriculture level of technology, low level of literacy, economic backwardness, a decline of the stagnant population. Example of particular vulnerable tribal groups include Cholanikayan, Kerala, Kathodi, Gujarat, Jarwaz, Andaman Nicobar, and Koraga, Karnataka. Cholanikayan, Kerala, Kathodi, Gujarat, Jarwaz, Andaman Nicobar, and Koragas, Karnataka. Cholanikayan, Kerala, Kathodi, Gujarat, Jarwaz, Andaman Nicobar Island, and Korga, Karnataka. Thank you. Bye.